So I've got Illustrator open. I've cleaned up, deleted the other things that I don't need. I want to give the file a different name. So I'm going to save as and give it a different name so you don't lose your other work. Right? Very typical, you don't want to lose your other work.
So this is building off the other map?
Yep.
Okay.
So I've just deleted the other stuff that I don't need. I've deleted the layers I don't need. I can give it another title. Existing land use. Who should we be today?
Anton.
And who?
I don't know his last name. There you go.
Oh man, Anton's gonna get really, really angry. Okay. All right, I'll just be myself. So if you're using the same background underlay, then this little thing here doesn't change yet. North doesn't change. Those things don't change. But anyway, I'm gonna go back into the layer menu here, and I've deleted all the layers I don't need. I'm gonna create a new layer here, and I'm just gonna label it commercial office. So a brand new layer that's just signifying commercial office. I grab pen tool and I look for my first commercial office. So wherever it might be. And this whole front block here is going to be this is the Fickle Peach, this is Defer Baran. Stroke, I might not have a stroke, or I might have a stroke, depending on I might have a stroke. And then I'll turn the opacity down to say 50%. And a new layer. Commercial retail. And we know that there's a restaurant in there, so that might be a signifier of that. And I'll go red, and then I'll go to 50%. And the two of them will layer together like so. Okay. YMCA. Nice square building. I'll just, oh, ah, there. Special use. Special use includes churches, schools, nonprofits. I can reorder the layers. I just grab that layer and drag it up or down into the order. I've got the active layer. Special use is not red, it is blue. So I'm going to use that. Probably use a cyan or a lighter blue and change its transparency again. So the plan view is very these thin color cells start to communicate the land use using the standard color system. We are missing the legend, aren't we? So that legend would be helpful. The legend is available for you right there. So if you download that,
And we changed the transparency by altering opacity?
Yep.
Okay.
yes, correct. And just bring that to the desktop. File, place. And use colors, place. Drop that in. And it's a handy little legend. So you can use that image as a legend, provided that you are using reasonable interpretation of the land use colors as are depicted there. Paintbrush tool. Paintbrush tool, I'm going to grab the paintbrush, I'm going to, notice Adobe, we have the fill and the stroke are nicely accessible here before we start to paint or draw. We can select those and start to affect them based on this relationship between fill and stroke. So I'm going to pick stroke here. And I can always bring up my swatches by clicking on this tiny little 6 grid over here. And so if I pick a white or something like that, or this, and I go to the stroke menu, I tell the stroke menu is these bars right here, I tell the stroke weight to be. And you're going to have to experiment with that, but the paintbrush tool is going to be very helpful for this curve. Now, right now that stroke is 1 point and it's blue. I can bump that up. I can bump up the stroke weight to something much bigger. Hey, yes. Okay. Bump that puppy up to 20. Wow, looks like that. Looks like that. Now, let's go down to 12. That's looking a little better now. Okay, tell it what to cap it off with. Caps and corners. Is it a dash line or not? Probably not. Could be. Come back over here, say, all right, I want you to be white. I'm going to refer to that as swatches or otherwise. There's a big white bang down. I can change its opacity down to 50% or 70%, depending on what's readable. So that's a curved line going around the roundabout. Now at the end of that segment, I'm going to remember I made this using the paintbrush tool. I painted this thing, which was a curved line. Illustrator basically interpreted my caffeinated shakiness and very reasonably made a contour that made sense. This is good for rivers. This is good for boundaries. It works extremely well. It will figure it out for you. But I need to make another line segment at the end here and pull that down and basically match it. I want this now to be 12. In this case, double that 20. Looks like it actually wants to be 24 points. Or hell, a little bit bigger. I'm trying to take this new line and match it so that it fits what I have with it there. Because when I make a new straight line segment, I can tell it to have an arrowhead under this stroke menu here. Okay? And Illustrator will give us these arrowheads to choose from. none. Then I go over here, the end. That's better. 11. Okay? That's a really huge error. My goodness. Here we can adapt the scale though right here. This is all under the stroke limit. Pop that puppy down to about 30%. Nah, too small. Maybe 50. That's better. Okay? Select that new arrow, make that 50%. Or was it 70? So using the shift key, let me try this and see if it works. Let me fool me if it doesn't work. No. That didn't work. Let's try it. But that's how you can add an arrowhead to a curved line. If we join them, it actually put the arrowhead up here. So let's try it again. I select the curved line, the arrow, I'm going to object, path, join, and it puts the arrowhead at the other end. Ha! So I just switch it up. Yeah. Put you at the other end now. Out there. Boom. That's better. All right. And then if I want to change the opacity of this white line, put that down to 70%. So, if you want a curved line with an arrow, make it with a straight line, make the arrowhead, pick the arrow type that you want, tell it which end to put it. Here's a handy little alternator right here, and tell Illustrator what scale you want that arrow to be. That's for a curved line like this one side of mulberry, for instance. You can also put arrowheads on either side. You can put them on both sides, things like that. But this is what helps you start to communicate the one- and two-way streets in this part of Muncie. Okay. The other ones are more straightforward, obviously. Right? So let's pick a nice two-way street. Where's a nice two-way street?
High Street?
High Street.
Oh, it's not in the picture. Madison.
Yeah, Madison's one. So Madison has a. Oh, before we go on, I probably want this thing to be elsewhere. So I'm going to cut it. Make a new layer. Ah, losing my layers menu. New layer. Streets. Make that the active layer. Paste it in front on the active layer. So anything in Illustrator, you can just select it, cut it, put it on another layer if you need to move stuff around. So Madison is a nice two-way street. This over here. And you make a big line segment. It goes here. Look. It's nowhere near it. It's straight, but of course Muncie isn't straight. Muncie is off by about 2 degrees. Go to the stroke menu. Put arrowheads on either end. So if I want to commit to an arrow style, whatever is your favorite style. 11 because it's one more than 10. I can modify that arrow now. There, change its opacity, like so, and then start to communicate that. Okay. Background image. I can change that opacity as well. If the photograph is too overwhelming, right? If I pump pump that background layer down to 55–60%, you can start to see that your colors and arrows and things like that can become more prominent and more visible. So that relationship between the opacity of colors, arrows and symbols, and the background layer, you can play with that and push those things around because there's a lot of colors and information on that background layer. So feel free to play with that as you see fit. Now, there are some asterisks. Asterix is a cartoon series in France. So download those. And these are just ones I've built. And we'll just place those. So just download those to your personal library. These are just things I've built in Illustrator and Photoshop over the years. So place, green asterisk, PNG. So maybe a green asterisk means a park or open space. And that can become a more diagrammatic language. Okay? And then text, labeling streets, labeling stuff with your favorite font on top of the arrows becomes desirable as we continue to read the different landmarks, the different buildings, and or the different streets. All of those become part of a readable land use map. Okay? So I've covered the land use colors, I've covered a curved line, covered a straight line with an arrowhead, covered placing the legend. If you're using the same background layer as before, this stuff doesn't change. Of course, we can adjust it as needed, but you can then start to populate these levels of information together using Illustrator. Okay. Other questions? Other comments? Give it a try. Okay. Our schedule. I'm really pushing the limits of my computer here, but that's enough to get you started with the basics of placing those elements, arrows, and colors. So